Today we're going to leave off, we're going to pick up exactly where we left off. We're going to talk about sine. We're going to talk about period, frequency, and amplitude. And we're going to learn how to graph sine and cos a little bit better. Take a look at the axis that I drew for you. What do you notice about these right here? They're in radians, and don't let that screw with you, but I just feel like I need to show you how to graph in radians with your calculator. So grab your calculator, hit the clear button, make sure your calculator is in the right mode. We're graphing in radian mode. And if it's in radian mode, then what you really need to adjust is the window. How low does it go on the left? Nah. It should be in radian mode. How low does it go on the left? It goes down to 0. Okay? So x min is 0. And how much does it go on the right? No. That's the difference. If we're in radian mode, it goes up to 2 pi. So this one over here is 2 pi. And so you're going to get a weird looking number. That's just 2 times pi. Now do me a favor, what are we going to scale it by? If we were in degrees, what would we scale it by? 90. And what's 90 in radians? Pi over 2. Very nice. And the rest of it is the same. You know, like, we're going to make our y mins. Let's shrink them down. Let's make them -5 and 5, just for any old reason. We'll see if our graph fits on there. And then we go into our y equals screen. I happen to like making my graphs real dark. That's why I hit enter on that side. And over here, I'm just going to plug it in. 2 sine 2x. Hit the graph button. Should look like that. Nice, right? It's pretty cool. 2 sine 2x. The 2 in the front helps determine the amplitude. The 2 in the front means how high does its crest go? How high does it go? What number does it reach up to? And how low does its trough go? -2. So let's graph it up. There were 2 of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to divide my grid in half to help me keep track of stuff. One sine graph has to fit in between over here, and you need 5 points to graph it. There's one of them. Now I'm just going to put the other one in. Dividing it in half just helps me keep track of stuff. There you go. Let's continue our discussion. Okay? This business of like peaks and troughs. What does the peak go up to? Yeah, the peak goes up to 2. And what does the trough go down to? It goes up by 2 and down by 2. And the word that describes how much it goes up and down by is something called the amplitude. And the amplitude is never negative. It's always positive. The amplitude is 2. The amplitude is the absolute value of that number right there. How many graphs do you see between 0 and 2 pi? How many graphs? Yeah, you see 2 of them. And so a question that asks you how many of them do you see is really asking you about something called the frequency. You know what the frequency of this is? It's 2. It's even easier to find than the amplitude because it's just this number right here. And finally, how long does it take to complete one full cycle? The frequency is that second number right there. The frequency is this one in blue. That's why I wrote it in blue. So how long does it take for one full cycle to complete? What's the length of time? Pi. What's up? How is pi a time? Look, pi is a time period. From 0 to pi, it took some amount of time to get there. True? Max? Okay. From 0 to here is a distance. True? So from here to here is another different distance, right? It's longer. So what distance does it take for one full cycle to complete? No, just how long? Is it pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, or 2 pi? No. Let me explain what I mean by that. Okay? Let me go back to our original first day, which you should have taken down in our notes. You have to have this memorized. Max, look up at the board, not at your notes. That is one full cycle. So you want to look to see how long it takes along the x-axis for this particular shape to occur. Now let's go back to the example that we have that we're talking about right now. Okay, take a look. How long does it take for that one sine graph to occur? Pi. But it could get annoying, you agree, trying to look at graphs and figure that out. So when I ask you, how long does it take for one cycle to complete? What I'm asking you about is something called the period. The formula for the period is simply 2 pi divided by b, or 2 pi divided by the frequency. It's the same idea. That's 2 pi divided by 2, which is just pi. Guys, let's practice a little bit. Let's practice a little bit with some easy problems, medium problems, and hard problems. We're going to find the amplitude, the frequency, and the period. And if you don't see a number in the front, what number is it? It's just 1. So we're going to do it just like we did with quadratic formula. A is 1, and B is 1. And then we're just going to fill out our formulas. So the amplitude is just the absolute value of that first number. It's the absolute value of A, which is the absolute value of 1, which is just 1. Oh man, didn't record. That's annoying. So let me re-record what we might have missed. The frequency is just calculated by b, and b was 1. The period is the distance it takes to complete one cycle. The formula for the period is 2 pi over b. It's 2 pi over 1. So the answer is just 2 pi. Okay, problem number 2. It's the same idea again, same set of formulas. All we are is practicing with them. So let's do this one up. Well, how much is A? So what's the amplitude? Sure, the amplitude is simply the absolute value of A, which is the absolute value of 2, which is just 2. How about B? So what's the frequency? Yeah, frequency. How many of them you would see between 0 and 2 pi, or 0 and 360? It's just 3. And then finally, the period. It's a tricky one. The period is simply 2 pi over b. That's 2 pi over 3. And you just leave it like that. That's it. It's the period. So we got number 3. What's the amplitude if A is at -5? Very nice, guys. Very, very nice. Yeah. So amplitude is absolute value of -5. That's just 5. What's the frequency? Yeah. The frequency is just that B number. Frequency is a third. In other words, you would see a third of the graph between 0 and 360. And the period. What is the period? Very nice. Yeah. It is 6 pi. It's 2 pi divided by a third. And if you're not so good at doing that kind of algebra, just use your calculator. Type in 2 divided by a third. You'll get 6. This is 6 pi. So in this next set of questions, I'm asking you to find the range. And I'm going to teach you how to do it in your head because actually doing this in the calculator is pretty annoying. If it was just plain sine x without that plus 2 at the end, okay, how high would its crest go and how low would its trough go? Trough. 1 and -1. But that positive 2 on the end shifts it up by 2. So let's go up by 2. So the new low point is 1, and the new high point is 3. And that's it. That's all you had to do. Mungi, do you understand what I'm saying or not at all? Did anybody find that a little difficult? Go. Okay. So I'm going to use my calculator and show you what to do. Okay, Arya? So here's my calculator. Here's what I mean. Number one, I don't really like radians. I find them annoying. I'm using degrees, which means I'm going to reset my window to be 0 to 360 scaled by 90. Now, delete this off. In the original, I'm going to just graph normal sine x. Is that cool? Take a look at it. There's sine x. You see it goes up to 1 and it goes down to -1, and it's bounded in between. Now watch, here's my new graph. And I'm going to make it in bold. My new graph is sine x plus 2. Look at it. See what happened? It was shifted up. And so its new low point, watch this, its new low point is 1 and 3. See it? See it? So I caught it. And that's really what I mean by it. But did you see all the work that I did in the calculator just to like try and figure this out? Oh, I just put those lines in. I put lines 1 and 3 in. Okay. So now let's do this next one. It looks really complicated. First of all, does this number over here, this 2, does it matter at all? Not in the slightest bit. Not in the slightest bit. So assume that the 2 at the end doesn't exist. With the 5 in the front, how high and how low does it go? 5 and -5, but it's going to get shifted up by 2 units. So what does it go at? What's its new low point? -3 and 7. Very nice. That's it. That's all you have to do. Okay, last part of our lesson for today. I would like for you to draw these 3 graphs on your paper. Sketch them. You make the grid just like we've been doing. You decide use the amplitude. I want to look for the frequency, the period. I'm looking for that you have 5 points for every cycle. And I'll show you the answer in 2 seconds. So here's the last 2 answers. There's questions 1 and 2. And there's questions 3.